I mean, those are my vets. You know, they showed me how to work. You know, I was surrounded by great talent in my early years of my career. Played for a great coach, Doc Rivers. And, you know, I put the work in. I worked extremely hard. And, you know, obviously playing with guys like that, you're very humbled to be a part of that. And, you know, won a championship, a couple All-Stars. And I played as hard as I can for the Celtics. And I enjoyed every moment while I was here. And even this year, you know, early I was taking a train, so I embraced the city. And it was probably the best, you know, times of my career thus far.
Rajon Rondo makes his return, but the Celtics lose 119-101. We're just chilling here. It's the Garden Report
We're in
on
chairs.
CLNS Radio and Celtics Blog. I'm Jared Weiss. We've got the crew back together. It's Jimmy Toscano from CSN&E, Pump It Baby. Julian Edlow from CLNS Radio. It was the most important game of the year. Rajon Rondo made his long-awaited return, and by long, I do mean 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about what happened with Rondo, what didn't happen with Rondo, and what did not happen from the Celtics, mostly good basketball. So first, let's start with what we saw off the top there. Jimmy, Rajon Rondo, he said he was going to try not to cry. He didn't cry.
No tears.
He barely even acknowledged the tribute video that was going on
I think
there.
you cried more than he cried.
I actually almost cried. I got very, very close to crying.
Coldplay will do that to you with the tribute video. Off the top, what do we see? I don't know. 15 points in the first quarter from Rondo. I don't think he missed a shot in this entire game. That's not true. He did miss a couple shots, but it felt like he didn't. I mean, I know he started 4 for 4, the first 10 points of the game, and you're just sitting there like, of course. Like, of course. I mean, as surprised as you might have been, you had to equally be not surprised at all, because he's just one of those guys where he can do something like that, or he can just do absolutely nothing at all. And today was just one of those games. I mean, when Pierce and KG came back, I think they kind of let the emotions get to them a bit. They were kind of timid. But Rondo fed off of them in a positive way, and he just kind of just went with it. And it's like anything. You hit a couple of shots, you get that confidence up, and he's definitely a confident kid, and we all saw it again tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the difference between, you know, the KG and Pierce is the fact that it was 2 weeks later. He comes back, and it's just kind of like, oh, you're not. There
wasn't as
gone.
much build-up. Yeah.
There's no time for the build-up. But with that said, you know, Rondo had his best game since he tore his ACL.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he usually does not score like this, and he's been shooting the ball a lot in Dallas. I was looking at some numbers before the game. In 3 of Rondo's last 5 games as a Celtic, he took exactly 3 shots. In every game he's played with Dallas, which is 7 now, he's taken over 10 shots. So he's a new player there. He's looking to score the ball, and when the lights are brightest, as they were tonight in his homecoming to Boston, surprise, surprise, Rondo played the best.
He's not hesitant to shoot the ball. I mean, even in the fourth quarter, there's so many shooters on this Dallas team, and he goes and he stops that big Celtics run there. He's the guy who kind of quiets the crowd. First time he's hit a shot that's quieted the crowd, you know, in his career. You know what I mean? And here I'm saying.
Sure.
And it just showed me that like he's already like acclimated to this team. And if you talking to the players after the game, where you talked to Dirk, we talked to Chandler, Ellis, they were just saying like he's just gotten in here. He's shown some leadership right away. I know Carlisle said he's full in. He's like fully immersed in what they're doing offensively and defensively, and that's the first thing they said pregame was how he's changed them right away defensively. Well, and of course tonight we see how he's changed them offensively.
We saw their ball pressure is a lot better than it was earlier in the year. I mean, Rondo makes a difference there, even if he did vindicate us by admitting that he hasn't played defense in several years.
We knew it.
Which, thank God. I was worried that I was crazy, but apparently we're not crazy. But you know, the thing is, there is so much criticism about the potential that Rondo could throw a wrench in their offensive system.
Yeah.
They had 119 points tonight. They took 96 shots. I mean, if it was a tight game, they would have scored even more points. But
yeah,
they never really, they didn't push them all the way to the end, really. But there's no question that this team thrived off of Rondo tonight, and it's a special occasion, Jimmy. So it's not going to always be like that. But there's no question that he can lead a absolute dynamite offense still.
Absolutely, and I think the thing that stands out to me is obviously tonight the points and the assists. The assists have been down. If you look at his numbers, he's only had one game with them with double-digit assists.
He's down to third in the NBA in assists now. It's unbelievable.
But he said it after the game. He said it tonight after the game. It's because the ball's not in his hands as much as it was when he was in Boston. It's not going from Rondo to the next guy shoot. Like Ellis is a good enough player where he can have the ball in his hands for a bit and then get the shot up and score. Same with Dirk. Obviously, those guys, they can do it themselves. They don't need Rondo to create this, elaborate scheme offensively for them. And I think that's part of what Rondo needed to do when he got to Dallas. He couldn't be the same player here as he was in Dallas. And it looks to me that he has adapted, pretty early on here to what they're doing offensively. I mean, they're number one still in the NBA in points. Obviously, it's easy for them. We saw tonight how easy it was for them to score. I mean, even Dirk has 17 and Ellis has 22, and all we talk about is Rondo because the return. But it's a quiet 22 for Monte Ellis. But that's nobody in the Celtics is going to average 22 points, this season.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, every starter for Dallas, aside from Tyson Chandler, can take the ball in their hands and create their own shot. That's something here in Boston that really nobody aside from maybe Jeff Green could do in the starting lineup. So
it doesn't.
Rondo's pounding the ball around, getting his 15 assists, just kind of dribbling around until he gives it to somebody to take a shot. In Dallas, they have a well-run offense where a lot of people are touching the ball, a lot of people are shooting, and Rondo kind of reaped the benefits of it tonight. I'm sure he had a little extra incentive to do so, but we can see in the numbers that he has been doing more of that in Dallas. And, it makes you wonder a little bit, like, why couldn't you try and be that number one type scorer when you were in Boston? That's kind of a little bit of a question still in my mind. It does make sense that with that extra talent around him in Dallas, why he's playing this way. But, why didn't we see this scoring type Rondo when he was the guy on the team? Yeah,
and I think it has a lot to do with what you kind of said, is that he's around better players. I mean, when Dirk Nowitzki's out there, he commands a certain way that to be covered. Teams are going to play off Rondo. That's what the Celtics did tonight. Jared Salinger even said it after the game. He said that was the game plan. We wanted to make him shoot the ball. Now it came back to bite them because he hit his shots. Now, is Rondo going to hit 5 3-pointers every night? No.
Yes.
But yes, starting today, yes, he will. But up until this point, he wasn't. I mean, he wouldn't take 7 threes. He wouldn't take 5 threes, never mind make 5 threes. So I don't think that's something that they're counting on. But the more consistently he takes that shot and makes that shot, the less they're going to have to play off him. And that's just going to open things up more for a guy like Ellis or Parsons or even Dirk.
Well, don't forget, they were doubling Dirk, and then Monte was getting the ball, and Monte was throwing it to an open Rondo. And that's the thing is, Rondo didn't have anyone in Boston to take the pressure off of him. And defenses were able to double and triple team him. You can't do that with Dallas anymore. That frees him up as a shooter. He was shooting in rhythm tonight. Even if his elbow was still halfway across the field, he hasn't tucked that elbow in. Then again, his arms are so freaking long, I don't know how he'd be able to do it.
Like, just, come on, get it in a little bit. But
although it works for Jeff Green. Jeff Green doesn't have very good elbow positioning. He still has a pretty nice touch. But the point is that Rondo has it's so much easier for him in Dallas, which is no surprise. But the thing is, he said after the game how exhausted he was. He said it was the most exhausted he's been ever after a game. So in Boston, he's not going to exert that kind of energy for a team that's not going to be able to step it up around him. But you had Dirk, who, I mean, he shot 7 for 19, but he had a pretty solid game. Tyson Chandler had 16 rebounds today, and even though he couldn't really score, he's an absolute menace down low. And then Monte, who's a guy that you can run the offense through too, so you don't have to always run the offense through Rondo when it comes to the Mavericks. That's just not a luxury that he had for the last 2 years in Boston.
Agreed. And you know what? Just a big game for Rondo. And he shows up in big games. He always has. And I think he showed a lot of his teammates tonight that when it comes to when it's time to rise to the occasion, that was the first time that these Dallas Mavericks have really seen him in action in a big game.
All right, well, we're going to go to part 2, and we're going to talk more about Rondo. This is the laid-back edition of the Garden Report on CLNS Radio and Celtics blog.
I just try to stay focused. It was a big game at hand. It was already emotional enough, and I just wanted to stay locked in and listen to coach in the huddle, and then obviously go out and say thank you to the fans. So I wasn't too keyed in on the video. I seen a couple glimpses, but I was just trying to stay focused. No tears. I think B Bass blinked a couple times, but I didn't cry.